What's up, everyone? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college football. And today we are breaking down the highly controversial Fighting Illini of Illinois. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. Those little things help a channel like this, a small channel like this, a ton. So thank you if you've done that. It truly does mean a lot. And usual disclaimer, the recording for this Illinois video is occurring on May 13th. Transfer portal is closed, but teams can still add players and are. So if there's something we miss, please leave it in the comments. Just trying to get better with each and every one of the videos. And I guess last thing, if we're critical on a team, doesn't mean we don't like them, just trying to be objective. So let's start with Illinois and what we saw last year from this team. Here are the efficiency metrics, which might surprise a few of you for a team that won double-digit games under Brett Bielema. We only have a few metrics inside the top 50. Those main ones are pass coverage, rushing, receiving, and overall offense. Offensive line was the biggest struggle offensively, especially their pass blocking. And then on defense, their run defense overall was their biggest weakness. But ultimately, this team was able to get to 10 wins, largely on the back of winning close competitive games, single-digit games. And there were a few that they arguably should have lost. If you dive into the Illinois schedule from a year ago, you see single-digit wins almost across the board. We're talking even as early as Kansas and then going all the way through the final season. Single-digit games against Kansas, Nebraska, Purdue, Rutgers, Northwestern, South Carolina, and they came out on top in all of those games. So that is how you get to a 10-3 record. But it's not only that. When you look at the post-game win expectancy for some of these contests, you start to see how lucky Illinois truly was in some of these contests. They beat Kansas 23-17, 42.5% post-game win expectancy. So based on the plays that happen on the field, they're only winning that game 42% of the time. They get it done. Penn State, they lose by 14 points, less than 1% chance to win. Purdue, they win by 1 point, 50-49, 25.5% chance to win. Even the Michigan game where they win by 14 points, 21-7, 56% chance of winning. The average score margin of victory in that game was 1.3. Oregon, 0% chance to win. Minnesota, 47% chance to win. And the rest of them are very clean Illinois. What I'm trying to say with this is that Illinois, most of the time, is an 8-5 team based on the play that happened last year. So when you spin this forward, and a lot of people they're taking the 10-win Illinois team, all their returning production, which is a lot, we'll get to it, and assuming this team is making the college football playoff. The first thing I'll say is, one, they won a lot of very close games. Generally, these are more coin flips than people want to admit. Second, returning production is not everything. Last year, everyone anointed Virginia Tech the crown jewel of returning production. They won 6 games. So this is all stuff that needs to be taken within context. As far as their talent acquisition, Illinois is towards the bottom of the Big Ten. This past year, they were 12th. In 2024, they were 15th. And before they added Oregon, USC, and the likes of the Pac-12, they were 7th in 2023. So overall, recruiting is not a strength for this team. They are recruiting like some of the better G5 teams, some of the lower Power 4 teams. Their retention is good, however, and they are an awesome development team. 88% of that 2024 class is still on the roster, 2/3 of the 2023 class. And this is where Brett Bielema makes his money. He's 28-22 as an overall coach. That includes last year's 10-3 record, where they only lost to really the top of the Big Ten outside of Minnesota. But he has finished at 5-7 multiple times. He's done that twice. So that's at least worth mentioning too. But regardless, they've made upgrades in the coaching staff outside of him that have led to some of this retention you see. Barry Looney is back as the OC. He's been there since 2022, previously with UTSA. So he's been a talent maximizer, gotten players like Pat Bryant drafted. Aaron Henry took over DC duties from Ryan Walters in 2023. He was an internal promotion, and Illinois' defense is mostly held up outside of the run defense last year. Very strong secondary for him. And before we move forward, I want to talk about the current schedule Illinois will play in 2025 because this is the most important factor in college football. Ask Indiana last year. You play an easy schedule, you're going to win games. So the chances Illinois makes the college football playoff, they're actually pretty decent, probably higher than I personally want to admit given the talent. But it's true. You look at their non-conference, you have two cupcakes at least, maybe three if you the road game at Duke is the only hiccup on that. From there, you play Ohio State. As the top of the schedule goes, that's pretty good. They dodge Penn State, they dodge Oregon. The Ohio State game is at home. And then who is the second most difficult game on the schedule? Indiana, away at Washington, away at Wisconsin. As far as your most difficult games, these are very winnable. And then you play almost every team in the bottom of the Big Ten. You play Northwestern, you play Maryland, you play Rutgers, you play Purdue. Tough road trip out to Washington. Rutgers should be even a little down. I mean, just based on a median projection with this roster, Illinois is better than 9 teams on the schedule with a very good chance to win 10. The only problem I have is I think people are currently evaluating Illinois and putting them too close to Ohio State, whereas their level of on-field play is probably closer to that of Wisconsin, that of Washington, that of USC. So we'll see where they finish out. But that is the schedule breakdown, which we usually do at the end. Let's dive into the roster. Here is our little data usage tool. Looking at the 2 deep for every one of these teams, you can see all the tabs on the bottom. Trying to figure out who might play for these teams and how much. So we have transfers in yellow, what year they are in school, their snaps the last 2 seasons, recruiting ranking in terms of star, and then an overall value score. This looks at your recruitment first, and then the more snaps you play, the less recruiting is factored in, the more on-field production matters for these stats. So with Illinois, we start up at the quarterback position where they return Luke Altmyer, former 4-star, former Ole Miss transfer. It's his 3rd season with the program. He started in 2023, eventually got benched for John Paddock, but then he rebounded last year in 2024 with his best season yet, 61% completion for over 2,700 yards. That was 7.8 yards per attempt, 22 scores, 6 interceptions, 20 big-time throws, 14 turnover-worthy plays. Somewhat mobile, 3 yards per carry in 23, 2.2 last year. And overall, he finished as the 51st most efficient QB in college football with better weapons than he has this year. But year-over-year growth, former 4-star. This is one of the more talented players on the roster, which is evidenced in our value score up at the top for QBs. Behind him, they add Ethan Hampton for Northern Illinois. The Illini has had a lot of success bringing these MAC transfers over and developing them largely as backups. We saw that with Paddock 2 years ago. Hampton's a little different, 58% completion. He's played a lot with Northern Illinois. Last year, he had 1,600 yards, 6.5 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, 6 picks. The thing to clean up with him is the turnovers. 5 big-time throws, 12 turnover-worthy plays. He runs a little bit as well, 2.4 yards per carry last year. So the QB room is in a little better place, I think, than last year, but we'll see the overall talent with this team. If Altmyer goes down, you're not looking at probably not a quarterback that's going to play to the same level of competition. I said that when Paddock came in, so maybe we'll see. Running back. They lose Josh McCray, but they have a ton back. This is probably the strongest position on the entire roster. Second leading rusher, Aiden Lawferty's back. He is 5'11", 200 pounds. 589 yards last year, 6.1 yards per carry, 9 catches, and that was in relief. We all thought Caden Fegan was going to be the lead back. He got injured after 5 games. He's a former 4-star. He's a huge back, 6'3", 250 pounds, 306 rushing yards. That's 4.6 per carry. He's been productive in his career too. So those are 2 awesome backs, Lawferty and Fegan, where you can start with his backfield and they complement each other well, one larger, one smaller. And then they have 4-star sophomore Khalil Valentine, played 101 snaps last year. He was solid on a very small sample, 5'11", 190 pounds, only 53 rushes for over 4 yards per carry. There's multiple 4-stars here, a well-orchestrated backfield with size. Some of these players, like Fegan, who can play on the goal line, some are smaller, can catch passes out of the backfield. I think this is the best position of the entire offense, outside of maybe QB with Altmyer. Wide receiver, no way around it. You're losing Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin, likely to take a step back. Illinois added a premier transfer in Hudson Clement, however, who should fill at least the gap for one of these players. At 6'1", 198 pounds, the West Virginia transfer caught 51 passes for 741 yards, 5 scores. Boundary receiver, 91% of the time he was out there. 2.21 yards per route was very strong. He should immediately be the wide receiver 1 for this team. Behind him, I'm not sure how they configure the offense. The 2 most experienced players are Colin Dixon, 329 snaps, and Hank Beatty at 220. The player everyone tries to talk about is Malik Elzy, however. He had 137 snaps, but he hasn't played a ton with this team. I know injuries have been a problem for him. We'll see if he can finally get that off his back. But let's start with Dixon, who played the most. He's a sophomore, finished as the 4th leading receiver last year, 6'1", 210. 18 catches for 264 yards, played out wide 75% of the time with 1.33 yards per route. Beatty, he was 3rd on the team in receiving with 20 catches, 294 yards, 5'11", 185. He played in the slot 90% of the time with 2.06 yards per route, so much more efficient than Dixon. And then finally, Elzy, the former 4-star people love to talk about, only 4 catches last year for 77 yards. Everyone thought he was going to play a bigger role, was a little banged up, but couldn't get on the field. So, I mean, at some point we need to ask ourselves, is this actually a player that is going to live up to his recruitment? I don't have the answer to this, but so far, the fact that he can't beat out some of these lower recruited players like Beatty and Dixon is a little bit of a concern. They also add Ball State transfer Justin Bowick. He previously played with Eastern Illinois. Bowick caught 20 passes for 383 yards in 4 games last year. He's 6'4", 192, plays in the boundary. Was really efficient in the brief time we saw him. And for depth, they got a few snaps back from Ashton Hollins and former JUCO transfer Alexander Katka-Jones. Clement is clearly the wide receiver 1 on this team, and the rest is unproven. So I think development is going to be key. We'll see if Lunny can take advantage of some of these players that have been highly recruited, like Elzy, and turn them into something. But so far, we do not have any of the experience that we saw with Illinois the last couple seasons, returning Bryant and Franklin. At tight end, Tanner Arkin is back, caught 16 balls for 111 yards last year. He's 6'4", 165. He's mainly a blocker. That's where he spent most of his snaps, and it makes sense at his size. Played with Colorado State for 2 years before coming over to Illinois, where he's played for the last 2 years. Behind him, there's nothing proven. Murray State transfer Cole Rusk is back after he got hurt and missed all of last year. They also added a pair of low-level transfers in Davin Stoffel from South Dakota State and Christian Abney from Ball State. I would just be careful hyping up the FCS guys. We have the ability to look at their production and how it ranked in the FCS and MAC for that matter. Stoffel was in the 41st percentile for production, and Abney was in the 28th. So just not really expecting these guys to be able to play in the Big Ten if they couldn't play in the FCS and the MAC, at least not productively. Stoffel did have 515 snaps. Abney had 413. Offensive line, this was a weakness for the offense last year. They returned most of the players. This unit is comprised largely of low-level transfers, so hopefully another season with Illinois, they can be a little better. And their main issue was pass blocking last year, so we'll see if they can climb inside the top 100. Left tackle is J.C. Davis. He was a starter last year, previously played with New Mexico where he started. Average blocker overall, a little bit better as a pass blocker, 16 pressures on 824 snaps. Left guard, they returned Josh Gajewski, who is a 2-year starter for Illinois now. Gajewski's an average blocker, a little bit above average as a pass blocker, 19 pressures on 813 snaps. Center is Josh Kreutz. He started the last 2 years. Another just pretty average blocker, 14 pressures allowed on 824 snaps. Right guard should be Brandon Henderson. He took over starting duties midway through last year. 380 snaps, but way better as a run blocker. He allowed 12 pressures on his 380 snaps, which is a concern. And then lastly, Melvin Priestley at right tackle played 826 snaps. He was previously with Grambling State, where he started 2 seasons before coming over to Illinois. Average run blocker, allowed 19 pressures. It's kind of the story with Illinois' offensive line. They're coaching up these low-level transfers because they're not recruiting very well. So, I mean, honestly, turning Grambling State and New Mexico transfers into productive starters, it's worth the tip of the cap. But I'm just not sure about overall talent on the ceiling end for this team, especially on the O-line. They do come out and add a few other transfers for depth. Nathan Napick from Idaho, they come into the program. Aiden was a 3-year starter at left tackle. And then we saw his brother Nathan was a 3-star recruit last year. They both come over. Tyler McMillan from SEMO, he comes over. Strong pass blocking numbers, but below average run blocking. We're talking the FCS. I'm just not really sure what these guys are going to offer. Defensive line, this is easily where they lost the most production. They lose Seth Coleman from the edge, but this group should still be in pretty good shape. 692 snaps from Gabe Jacques. He was an excellent pass rusher, 44 pure QB pressures, average in run defense, but he still was second on the team with 74 tackles. Jacques is now entering his 4th year as a starter. Behind him, Alec Bryant should step into the number 2 edge rusher role. He played in rotation the last 2 years. Slightly less productive, but he had 13 pressures on 349 snaps. Illinois went out to the portal, added James Thompson Jr. from Wisconsin, Leon Lowry Jr. from Wisconsin. Thompson only played in 1 game, but he played quite a bit the 2 prior years, 437 snaps in 23, 379 in 22. He had 31 pressures in those seasons, which was average. Lowry only got on the field. He's a former Syracuse transfer, so he played awesome with Syracuse in 23. Then when he transfers over to the Badgers, only gets on the field for 372 snaps in rotation. He played below average in the Big Ten too. So just taking below average players from Wisconsin, I don't know. You're kind of counting on developing them more than Wisconsin could. But, I mean, these are Wisconsin cast-offs, and you're supposed to be better than the Badgers this year. So I'm just not sure how it's going to work. Sophomores Joe Barna, JoJo Hayden are back after playing over 100 snaps apiece. I think, honestly, you're leaning on Jacques and Bryant up at the top, and then you only use Thompson and Lowry in rotation in an optimal world. We'll see how that goes. Inside, Dennis Briggs Jr. is gone. Terra Edwards is gone. So their top incumbent is Jeremiah Warren, who played 187 below-average snaps. They do have a few other unproven commodities, like Pat Farrell played 108 snaps. Former Florida A&M transfer Jenel Hunt played 33 snaps. Eddie Turek played 3 snaps. Turek was a 4-star recruit by some services, so at least he's like a high 3-star, low 4-star. Potentially that makes a big difference. But this is where Illinois added a lot of transfers as well. Tomiwa Duroger from Florida State comes in. Kurt Neal comes in from Wisconsin. Carter Hewitt comes in from Northern Illinois. Duroger has played with 3 schools in 3 years, so he's well-traveled, only got on the field for 32 snaps last year, and that Florida State defense was putrid. So the fact that he couldn't play for a bad defense is concerning to me. Neal played 434 snaps. He was the worst player on the Badgers. 290-pound defensive tackle. He just got absolutely blasted by bigger Big Ten linemen. So again, Illinois betting on failures at Wisconsin. We'll see. Hewitt, he was the Northern Iowa transfer. Largely average numbers at that level of play. So just not sure what we are going to get from FCS transfers. Illinois has quite a bit of them. As far as linebacker goes, they do return Dylan Rosiak, 2-year starter, 3rd on the team in tackles last year, despite getting injured in Week 10. They also have James Kreutz. He played 403 snaps. His first year as a starter, he had 55 tackles, but struggled a bit in coverage. They're a good place to start. And then they have some pretty decent experience behind them. Malachi Hood played 135 snaps. He flashed at points. They also have a 4-star freshman in Grant Bierman. That is not common for Illinois. Allegedly, spring reports are talking about him putting weight on his frame, as well as Ismail Conte, who is playing more of the linebacker role this year. Both of them have allegedly bulked up. We'll see. This is easily the weakness of the defense, the front 7. Linebackers a little stronger than defensive line, but right now they're losing quite a bit, especially on the interior, and they're making a bet on being able to develop some highly recruited players from other programs that were unable to get on the field, or when they did, unable to live up to expectations. So we'll see how that goes. Defensive backfield, easily the strength for the defense. They basically return everyone. Boundary corners, you're looking at Caleb Patterson. First-year starter last year, 2 PPUs, 62% completion. He was an above-average player. Torrey Cox actually was much better, which is wild because he's super small, 5'9", 170. He was coming from the MAC. He previously played at Ohio, but now he has 3 years of his starting experience, 1 in the Big Ten. Last year, only a 50% completion allowed, 2 PBUs, 3 INTs. Awesome season for him. They also returned their slot, Xavier Scott. He started for 2 years with Illinois. He was the top defender on the team last year with 49 tackles, 5 PBUs, 4 INTs, a 55% completion percentage allowed. Awesome player. And they're also deep. They have a lot of experience, 344 snaps from cornerback Jaheim Clark. Tyler Strain, he went in the portal and he came out. He played 443 snaps in 2023, where he had an awesome season. Last year, he took a slight step back. But you have probably 5 corners you feel comfortable playing in a pinch, and a couple like Scott and Cox, where you feel awesome about getting on the field at any point. At safety, they return their leading tackler, Matthew Bailey. He's a former 4-star. Last year, he had 94 tackles, 5 PBUs, 1 interception. Just an awesome season for him. And Miles Scott comes back on the other side. He has started the last 2 years with elite play. He was 4th on the team with 55 tackles, 3 PBUs, 2 picks, 61% completion allowed. Not as much depth here as corner, but Mac Resitich played 176 snaps. That's about it for noteworthy experience, but at the top, this Illinois secondary should be among the best in the Big Ten. As far as special teams, David Olano is back for his second year kicking. He missed just 1 of his 39 extra points last year with 17 of 20 on field goals, but all those misses came from 40 plus. Was 1 of 2 from 50, and he finished as the 24th most efficient kicker in college football. So now that we have a glimpse at the roster, I'll bring you back to the schedule so we can hopefully add just a little more context. Again, here's what we're looking at. The roster overall, it looks like they've been recruiting at the 50th ranked level the last 3 seasons, which is around where they have 45, 50. That's their range. But there are teams worse than this in the Big Ten. Their non-con, that should be 3 wins. Purdue, Rutgers, Maryland, Northwestern, they should be largely favored in these games. At Wisconsin, Wisconsin's supposed to be down this year. Could be a game they win. Washington, on the road, tough road trip. Another team that's down in the second year of a coaching staff. That's when they could win. USC, they bring to their home building. Indiana is turning over a lot of their roster after they made the playoff. I mean, it's all in front of Illinois this year. This is their window. This is probably their best chance to make a college football playoff, considering the roster, unless something changes, they recruit better, whatever it may be. This is their shot. They need to take it. I'm a little hesitant, and I think this team is probably closer to an 8-win team than a 10-win team. We'll see how it plays out, but let me know where I was wrong in the comments. A lot of you seem to think they're all Americans in this team. I don't know about that, but we will find out. So thank you for watching. We'll see you guys again next time, and good luck.